Hi there Waltineers, I'm Jack and this is DSNY Newscast, and today I want to discuss quite a few things, but the first one is easily the biggest, and that is that we finally have had our first proper inside look at Tiana's Bayou adventure with actual on-ride footage of the actual attraction at Walt Disney World, and it actually comes courtesy of Disney themselves, as they've even given us such an extended preview that they've even revealed the finale sequence within the attraction, which is something quite surprising. I didn't think they'd actually do that, and so I wanted to dive into all of that in greater depth, but to do so I want to issue a spoiler warning. Jump to the timecode that you can see here on the screen if you don't want to be spoiled about Tiana's Bayou adventure, as I'm going to be using ride footage from the actual attraction. As if you jump to that timecode later on in the video, I want to talk about what do Disney have supposedly planned in terms of early rumored plans for Walt Disney World in 2025, as Tiana's is going to be the big opening in 2024, and so I want to look ahead to 2025 and start to discuss what could they have planned for 2025, and so use that time code there. But with that being said, let's talk about Tiana's, as this footage comes to us from the YouTube series titled We Call It Imagineering, and in episode 2 it was all about soundscapes and the important role that music and sound play in building these Disney park attractions. And clearly music's going to be very important to Tiana's, as we already know that a lot of the soundtrack from the 2009 movie is going to be featured within the ride itself, but we also now know that the original song that's been written and produced by Grammy Award winner PJ Morton for the attraction is called Special Spice, and it's going to be played within the finale sequence within the attraction. You know, after the big splashdown where Zippity Doodah used to play, that's where they're going to have this new original theme. But from the small snippet that we've heard, it sounds sort of promising, but I'm going to reserve judgment on the actual song itself. I can't say whether it's a catchy earworm sort of song until I've heard the whole thing, so reserving judgment on that. But with that being said, let's now talk about what we can see within the attraction. And straight away, the thing that stands out is how much dimensionality there is within these scenes, as they're using all of the modern tricks of Imagineering to actually make these quite small physical spaces seem much larger and expansive than they actually are. And they're using a blend of, you know, screen-based technology, projection mapping, physical set elements, and then obviously also having these A1000 series animatronics along the way as well, filling out the rest of the scene. It really is creating a very full look to these show scenes. And then in this very brief snippet here, this is the laughing place scene within the attraction, but this actually confirms one of the story points that we thought was going to be within the attraction, which is that we will be shrunk down to the size of frogs within the actual attraction for part of it. And then we've got to talk about the finale sequence. Now, we all know from years of riding Splash Mountain that the finale sequence is very important to the overwhelming feel of this ride. As, you know, after all, that grand reveal and the wow moment of the celebration after the 50-foot drop and that big sigh of relief that you feel as you enter this big celebration at the end, it's very important to the feeling that you're left with on the ride. And from what we've seen within this footage, it does seem like they've kept that spirit very much alive within this finale sequence, as it's a big Mardi Gras party celebration atmosphere within the sequence. And they've actually gone one step further and added a kind of dimensionality and tried to make it more of a crowded atmosphere. As you can see, that Imagineering have actually used a blend of digital and physical set elements, as they've got the screens in the door frames and the windows of the buildings with animated characters on to add more to the kind of crowded party atmosphere of the actual finale sequence, alongside the many audio animatronic figures that are also making up the scene as well. And so I would say at this point it's very promising and it does look very impressive. But there is only so much we can say based off the video glimpses that we've already received, and this is going to be one of these things where you got to experience it in person to properly give an opinion on it. And, you know, next week I'm going to be riding Tiana's Bayou adventure during the preview, so come back here next week as I'll be giving my honest review of this attraction in full. But with that being said, you know, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is going to be the big thing for 2024, and now I want to talk about 2025. As you see, you know, every year Disney like to have a big thing that they can push in terms of marketing, and ever since 2016 in actual fact, they've had something new to open at Walt Disney World. And so 2025 should be no different, but it is, because next year year Epic Universe is going to be opening in 2025. And obviously Disney's not going to be able to eclipse the colossus that is going to be Epic Universe, a brand new theme park in Orlando. And so what they need to do is they need to kind of remain in the conversation. So let's discuss the rumored early plans of what Disney is supposedly planning for Walt Disney World in 2025. And so with that being said, apparently the word that's going to kind of define Walt Disney World next year is the word entertainment. And supposedly Disney's going to be looking to lean very much into new entertainment offerings for 2025. And there is actually one rumour which I really want to discuss, and it comes courtesy of the insiders over on the WDW Magic forums. But the rumour is that a nighttime parade is going to be returning to Walt Disney World. And, you know, supposedly, according to these insiders, it's been greenlit and it is moving ahead. This nighttime parade returning to Walt Disney World. And I should actually clarify, when I say returning, I don't actually mean a previous parade like a Main Street Electrical Parade or Paint the Night coming from Disneyland to Walt Disney World, but instead this is supposedly going to be a brand new parade that's been commissioned for Walt Disney World, and the park it's going to be going into is the Magic Kingdom. Now, the other interesting part of this is this parade is supposedly going to be able to serve a dual purpose, and it's going to be able to run in the daytime and nighttime, a bit like what we see with Magic Happens over at Disneyland, which debuted back in 2020 and received a very good response to that parade. And so this parade will be able to run both daytime and nighttime, and so in many ways Disney's going to be able to get double bang for their buck from this parade. So hopefully there's a lot of funds allocated to this parade to make it a fantastic parade. Now, obviously this is rumour at the moment. We don't know how many floats there's going to be and, you know, what IP is going to be included. And obviously until this thing is officially announced, treat this as rumour, as it does feel a little bit like deja vu. We've discussed the rumoured nighttime parade project for many years here on this channel. It's been on again, off again, on again, off again within Disney, and the execs have finally given the go-ahead supposedly to this new parade. So hopefully we get that announcement at D23 in August. But then the other thing, sticking with the entertainment offerings here, we've got to talk about what debuted last week at Disney Springs, and that's obviously Disney Dreams That Soar, the brand new drone show at Disney Springs, and it's operating from May 24th to September 2nd, and it'll be taking place twice nightly at both 9 PM and 10:45 PM. And it's early days on this, you know, obviously only debuted last Friday, but the guest response so far has been overwhelmingly positive towards this drone show. Now, part of that is obviously it's free, being at Disney Springs, and there's nothing wrong with free. It's always going to get a better response. But also, they really did throw an awful lot at this in terms of creative and the technology behind it. You know, it has great music, good character integration, the transitions are very slick, and then also it's got 800 drones in the sky compared to what we saw previously in 2016 with that holiday show, which only had 300 drones. You know, 800 drones in the sky is much more impressive. But I will say that, you know, oftentimes you have to watch these kind of things on video, and video really doesn't do drone shows any justice, really, as it's something you kind of need to see in person, as then you get the kind of idea of the scale and the dimensionality of the drones, instead of it just looking like a dot matrix animation on the 2D screen. You've got to kind of see it in person. And so depending on what the guest satisfaction is to this drone show, we're most likely going to see drones implemented within nighttime offerings at Walt Disney World in the next year or so. And the two parks that are going to be vying most for these drones to be integrated within their nighttime shows is going to be Disney's Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom. Now, I've got my own personal preference for where I would like to see these drones implemented, and I think Animal Kingdom needs these drones the most. And the reason for that is, number one, obviously, that Animal Kingdom can't have fireworks and pyrotechnics within their nighttime shows, as it would scare the animals. So drones makes a fantastic offering in terms of something to come out and see and to tell a story in the sky. But then the other part of this is, you know, with Dino Land being closed, most likely all of next year as it undergoes its transformation into the tropical Americas, they're losing all that capacity with Dinosaur and Chester and Hester's, and so they could really do with using the Rivers of Light amphitheatre in a much better way, as it's just sat there at the moment dormant, vacant, nothing goes on in that theatre at night time. And if they were to put a new nighttime show there, then it'd be a great way to get guests to stay longer in Animal Kingdom. And if they integrate some water barges with some fountains and have the drones fly on out in much in the same way that they do at Disney Springs, fly out over the water and then do the show, it would work. And obviously the main issue with this is that you can't have drones fly over guest areas, but they could temporarily shut down a bridge near Expedition Everest between that and the Nemo Theatre, much like they do with the barges that come out into World Showcase for Luminous. And they could shut down that bridge in Animal Kingdom, have the drones go out, fly out it, do the show, come back, and then that way it makes it safe, and they can have the launch pad around the back of either the dock area or Expedition Everest around the back of there. But it would make a lot of sense to do it that way. And you've got all the displaced cast members from Dinosaur and Chester and Hester's that they could potentially use to help manage this new nighttime show at Animal Kingdom as well. And also it could extend the park hours into the nighttime as well by using those displaced cast members to then extend the park hours at Animal Kingdom. So I think that's a logical aspect there. But then the other part that will be vying for this drone integration within their nighttime offerings is obviously Hollywood Studios, and they'll be making the argument that park operations will be much easier, as then they could launch the drones from the other side of World Drive, which is actually where they launch all of their pyrotechnics from, with the nighttime spectaculars that they project onto the Chinese theatre. And then they could have the drones on the other side of World Drive. But I don't know if the distance would make it less compelling in terms of having the drones in the sky, and whether it would interfere too much with the fireworks for Hollywood Studios. Plus, personally, I don't think Hollywood Studios necessarily needs the drones. They've got Fantasmic, that does 2 shows a night, very popular already. They don't really need anything more. I think Animal Kingdom needs these drones more than anything. And so fingers crossed, hopefully we get an announcement about a drone show coming to one of the parks at Walt Disney World for next year as well. I could see that being part of their game plan in terms of the entertainment that they want to lean into. And then the last thing which I want to talk about isn't to do with entertainment, but Disney supposedly will have an attraction to open next year as well. Now, it's reopening a refurbished attraction, which will be touted as a new attraction in many ways, and that is Test Track. Now, Test Track is going to be going down through its refurbishment and its revamp into Test Track 3.0 June 17th, so it's right around the corner. So if you haven't ridden Test Track yet, and you like this current version of Test Track, go ride it before June 17th, because that's when it's closing for this major revamp into Test Track 3.0 that was previously announced at Destination D23 in 2023. And from what's been rumoured, this is going to be roughly a 1-year refurbishment revamp for Test Track, and it should be opening sometime in 2025. At least that's what they're hoping for. And this is going to have quite a lot of money spent on it, and it's being entirely funded by GM, General Motors, who are the current sponsor of the attraction, and it's going to be harkening back to World of Motion with some of its inspiration, and also a little bit of Test Track 1.0 as well, but mostly it's going to be drawing inspiration from World of Motion, the Epcot Legacy attraction from the 1980s. And obviously none of this stuff which I've mentioned so far today is going to be able to beat out Epic Universe in terms of attention. That's going to be the major draw for Orlando in 2025. But it is good to know that Disney has some rumored early plans for 2025 to draw guests towards Walt Disney World as well, and have something new to offer, either in terms of a new nighttime parade, new drone shows, or a revamped attraction in Test Track. And these are just the early rumored plans. We got D23 Expo in August. We may get a surprise for 2025 that we haven't yet heard of in terms of rumors, and that's right around the corner. But clearly Disney is working on stuff for 2025, and then hopefully 2026, 2027, 2028 we'll start to get to see some of those new expansions come online as well. And so with that being said for today, it's now over to you, the Waltineers. I would like to know, What would you like to see Disney do in 2025 that would be so compelling that you would book a trip to Walt Disney World in 2025? And personally, I think one of the major things they could do is probably bring back some sort of free fast pass feature, at least just one per day. That would boost a lot of bookings. But what would you like to see from Walt Disney World in 2025? That's what I want to know. And of course, if you're new to this channel, be sure to subscribe down below, hit the notification bell so you always receive an update. Check out the rest of the videos on the channel. Give this video a massive thumbs up, all the usual YouTube stuff. And I'd also like to give a massive thank you to the official Waltineer Club over on Patreon who always support this channel, and also a shout out to the Waltineer Gold members that you can see here on the screen, as well as Waltineer Diamond member Kyle Mahan. And with that being said for today, I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.